Hello, James Spiro here at Gaming 2023. We are hot off the press with the new announcement that Unity, as of January 1st, will be raising its prices. Talking us through this now is Eze Vidra, the managing partner at Remagine Ventures. Eze,
Hi James, good to see you.
Good to see you again, always a pleasure. Eze, talk us through this news. Unity raising their prices as of next year. What does it mean?
So Unity is raising their subscription prices for games that have passed the minimum download threshold and the revenue threshold. They're going to basically have to start paying a tax that makes it very difficult for indie game developers and perhaps hyper-casual game developers that don't monetize their users as well, who are suddenly going to have to pay a big chunk of their earnings into Unity.
Okay, thank you. Wow, it's big news. Remagine Ventures invests in entertainment and gaming companies all around different technologies. What do you think will be some of the direct impacts of this decision?
In the past year, we've seen interesting combinations. On one hand, we have more smartphones and more people playing games than ever before. On the other hand, you have regulation, for example, IDFA or getting rid of cookies, getting rid of targeting, and this price increase by Unity being the latest one, which makes it really hard for game developers to target and monetize players. And I think what it's going to do is basically embrace the industry to adopt new technology. And I think in the short term, it's probably going to be painful for the hyper-casual game developers. Hyper-casual games are games that have been built very, very quickly. They don't have huge longevity. And typically what the developers are trying to do is make more money than it costs them to acquire the user. Casual games are still a high investment. They typically require funding, and they have more longevity. They're going to be less affected by this in the long term.
I was going to ask, Unity, it's the biggest company in the world that does what it does. So when a company goes and says we're going to raise prices, join us or leave us, or keep up with us, what are there restrictions to that? Are there boundaries?
It's a great question. So Unity acquired ironSource, the Israeli company, in a merger earlier this year. I think it was like a $6 or $4 billion merger. So they don't only have the most popular tool for game development and the most popular graphics engine, they also have now the most popular tool for game monetization. So they do have quite a lot of lock-in with game developers that would make it difficult for people to leave. On the other hand, you have companies like Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, which created Unreal Engine. And Unreal Engine is free to some extent. And I think that there's going to be a lot of experimentation from people to try new tools and see if they can make their games work with other tools. And on the other hand, I think that Unity is very critical for mobile game development, but perhaps what this will do is accelerate the embracement of cloud gaming and the ability to play games regardless of the console. Like, don't forget that every mobile game has to pay a pretty high tax to Apple as well. Every download, every dollar that they make, a part of that dollar goes to Apple.
That's about 30%, right? Is that
in most cases it's 30%. It depends if it's a subscription. It can be a bit lower, but it's effectively a tax that is imposed. It was very publicly went to court with Fortnite. That decided we're not going to pay this fee, and they were kicked out of the Apple App Store. I think recently they came to an agreement and came back. But that's hugely hurtful for the company that loses a lot of their distribution. So these are not easy issues to solve. Everyone has to monetize, from the company hosting the game to the company that's helping the development. But it will hurt the small indie game developers and hyper-casual developers.
Final question, because I don't want to keep you for too long. Are there any restrictions on the governmental level, maybe from blocks like the EU or anywhere else in the US, that might say, no, we're going to put a stop to this. This isn't allowed. The EU has been quite famous for stopping American tech companies and platforms in their tracks. Are we going to see anything like that?
That's a really interesting question. I see the regulator typically enters when it comes to stopping mergers and acquisition, like Microsoft Activision.
Right.
The UK famously blocked that merger. However, it's the largest private transaction, 70 billion in cash. The Americans approved it, and now the UK is under pressure to reapprove it. I haven't seen the regulator step in when it comes to commercial issues like raising prices. I think they will have to prove that Unity is a monopoly in order to do that, and probably it's not the easiest thing to do. But to be honest, I think gaming developers will benefit from having some sort of control over the company's ability to raise prices indefinitely, because maybe this is not the end.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and it's been big news out of Gaming 2023 today, and I look forward to seeing how it all goes. And
me too.
We'll catch up in Gaming 2024, and we'll see how it all went from there.
Thanks for having me.
Eze, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Likewise.